So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome again to our webinar that we're running this afternoon around the Springboard Plus courses and the HCI Pillar 1 courses at the University of Galway. And you're all very welcome to our webinar on what is a lovely sunny afternoon in Galway City. I hope wherever you are equally enjoying the sunshine that is on offer today. And we're very excited to introduce to you our programs in the Springboard and HCI area. And what's ahead of you today is a short webinar, about 30 minutes, just outlining the courses that we have available. We're going to talk a little bit around the application and eligibility criteria, and we're going to then really just get into the nuts and bolts of it and chat with our panel about the programs that we have on offer. And for you, those of you who have maybe questions today, you will see at the bottom of your screen a Q&A panel where you can pop in your questions, and they will be answered as we go through the webinar, and also as they arise, we can answer them as a panel together. So let's see who we have available and chatting with you today. Our panelists are Dr. Owen Malloy. Owen is going to cover the postgraduate courses in cloud computing and software development and the cybersecurity and software development course. So very welcome, Owen, today. Dr. Olivia McDermott is going to cover our course in the medical technology, regulatory affairs and operations. Dr. Edel Doherty is going to cover two programs in the area of our MSc in agricultural innovation and our postgraduate diploma in construction innovation. So welcome, Edel. And Professor Patrick Lonergan is going to talk to you about our postgraduate certificate in creative arts management. And I myself am Nuala McGuinn. I'm with the Centre for Adult Learning and Professional Development, and I'm going to be facilitating and moderating this session today with my colleagues. So all very welcome and delighted that you could join us today. This particular slide just gives you an overview of the range of courses that we have funded through these various initiatives. And today we're going to talk about a selection of them because it's a short webinar and we're going to talk about a selection. And we, under the Springboard Plus at level 8, year 1, we have the certificate in medical technology, regulatory affairs and operations. We have the diploma in automation and control and the diploma in corporate environmental planning. The automation and control and corporate environmental planning courses will actually be the subject of our webinar held next week. So we won't delve too much detail on those today. And the HCI Pillar 1 courses, both of them, all three of them are in the level 9 area. We have the postgraduate diploma in construction innovation, the postgraduate diploma in data analytics and visualization. That's a full-time program. And the higher diploma in financial analysis, which is also full-time. But all the other programs that we'll talk about this today are actually part-time. Then in Springboard Plus at level 9 for 1 year, we have the MSc, the PG Cert in Creative Arts Management and the MSc in Ag Innovation. And then on the ICT skills conversion, we have 2 level 9 courses, both 2 years in duration, the postgraduate diploma in cloud computing and software development and the postgraduate diploma in cybersecurity and software development. So that's our spread of programs, and we'll chat in detail about a number of them this afternoon. One thing maybe to highlight at the beginning is the application process, just to kind of get the housekeeping pieces in order. There's kind of 2 steps, as I would describe it, to the application process. There is the check around academic eligibility. So that's really where you will look at the course that you're interested in and see if you meet the entry criteria. For any level 9 course, there's generally a requirement to have a degree as an entry point. And if you don't have a degree, then in other cases, we will consider students with maybe a level 7 and relevant experience through the recognition of prior learning, which I'll talk about in a moment. So don't exclude yourself immediately if you don't have a degree for any of the options that we've available today. So academic eligibility, first point. The second thing then is our Springboard Plus and our HCI Pillar 1 eligibility criteria. These are very stringent, and these are a requirement of the funding. There's two parts to that. First of all, there's the nationality requirement, and the EU applicant must either be an EU, an EEA, a UK, or a Swiss national. So if you meet one of those eligibility pieces, then you're deemed an EU applicant, and you will be eligible under the nationality requirement. If you're non-EU, then if you hold a stamp 4, 5, or 6 stamp on your visa, you will be eligible. So EU and non-EU are eligible, but there are different criteria within each. You also must meet the residency requirement, and if you're EU, you must be living in the EU for 3 out of the last 5 years. Equally, if you're non-EU and you hold the stamp 4, 5, or 6 visa, you must also be living in the EU for 3 of the last 5 years. And also, to be eligible, there are 4 other kind of categories. One is you either can be deemed employed, you can be unemployed, you can be a returner, so somebody has been at home for a number of years and want to return to the workplace, or you can be a recent graduate. So there's quite a bit of maybe detail on that, which I won't delve into today, but on the Springboard courses website, there is quite a lot of detail about eligibility. And we are very welcome to come back to us at any point in terms of our contact information and query any of whether you're eligible under either of these criteria. So if you feel that you're not sure, I would encourage you to come and contact us, and we can give you more information. But once you kind of decide what course you're interested, do you meet the entry criteria academically and under Springboard, then I would invite you to apply. So you apply under the springboardcourses.ie website. It's quite a simple process. You would create your account, you'll select the course, and then you'll fill out your relevant details. We're making offers at the moment, so we offer courses are offering in batch intakes, and so we are making rolling offers every few weeks. So I would, if you're interested in any of the courses that we're discussing today or on our website, I would encourage you to make an application as soon as possible. The 3rd week in August is usually our closing date, because most of our courses will be starting the 2nd week in September. So there's a lot of work to be done in the background in terms of getting you up and running, and I would encourage you to apply definitely well ahead of the deadline, just in case there's bits of information that you need to get, and it might take you time to get some. Then I mentioned the Springboard eligibility criteria. That's supporting documentation to give evidence to show whether you're employed or unemployed, a returner or a recent graduate. That's not required until 6 weeks from course start if you're coming back as an employed person and a returner. And if you're unemployed, it's actually just 2 weeks notice on the details. But again, we can come back to that in the Q&A or individually with applicants as you apply for the course. And one I mentioned earlier about the recognition of prior learning and not to kind of exclude yourself from applying for a course should you not just meet the entry criteria. And very simply, what the recognition of prior learning entails is that if anything you have done, whether it's a course formally through the University of Galway or another university, or learning that you have done maybe with an international university or another 3rd level organization, or we will recognize that. And what we're saying to you is that what you've done before is valued, and we will consider it as part of your entry. So prior learning can be something through a formal course, but it also can be something that you can gain through work experience or perhaps a training program that you did. And if you feel that that's relevant to maybe your application, we'll certainly look at that. And how we use RPL, well, you can gain entry to a course where you may not have perhaps met the direct entry standards like the degree, but you can also get advanced entry, maybe to a 2nd year of a program, or you might get entry or an exemption from one of our modules. And that's always worth checking out to see if you're eligible for any of those criteria. So further information on that is from our RPL officer, who is Suzanne Golden. So that's kind of the housekeeping piece on it. What I want to maybe jump into now is really to talk to the panel. That's what you're here today to find out about the courses, and our panel are experts in that area. So I'm going to maybe throw out a couple of questions. Hi, everybody. Great to see you all, as I mentioned earlier. And today we did a survey with people who were interested in coming to join the webinar. We asked them what areas they were interested in and what key things that they might want to find out about. So a lot of people just really want to know a brief overview of the program, what's covered. So maybe not starting in any particular order, but I might start with you, Olivia. You're first on my screen. You're covering these medical technology, regulatory affairs and operations course. Maybe chat to us a bit about what's covered in the course and what kind of learner has come, because we've ran it for a number of years and it's been extremely popular.
Yeah, thanks, Nuala. The Level 8 cert in Medical Technology, Regulatory Affairs and Operations is designed to meet the growing requirements of medical device companies, and it does touch on some pharma as well in filling regulatory and quality assurance roles. So and the reason we developed the course in the first place was because there is a skills shortage in the medtech industry for skilled professionals that have a knowledge of regulations. And you don't just use regulations in the regulatory affairs department or a function, you will use them in the quality department, you will use them on the manufacturing floor. So the course basically links the existing regulations and regulatory requirements and talks about how medical devices manufactured across the entire life cycle, from the design to the shipping and the aftercare and the post-market surveillance. So for example, we would teach people how to develop technical documentation for regulatory submissions. We would teach people about post-market surveillance, and some of our graduates go on to work in customer complaints and vigilance departments. We teach people about the core quality management standards and the requirements for clean room operations and that type of thing. And a lot of our graduates go on and work in the quality department or on the manufacturing floor. So there's a lot of different, I suppose, elements of the medical device life cycle, as I call it, covered. We do 6 modules in total, 3 per semester. And very importantly, as you just mentioned, the course is Springboard funded. So it's an excellent way to upskill, and we have proven success with our graduates, going on to either get promoted or break into the medtech industry from completing the course.
Sounds great. And I know, Olivia, it's in a level 8 course, so somebody with a level 7 qualification is eligible to join. Just from your review of applications up to now, what kind of backgrounds are they? What kind of level 7s are coming into the course? If somebody was wondering what would be suitable.
We're actually we do get some graduates with business backgrounds, but they're maybe working in the medical device industry at the moment, and they want something a little bit more scientific qualification. But we've also had people from the pharmacy industry, other types of industries that just want to maybe reskill and upskill. So we tailor the course and the modules, obviously for everybody. So we start at the very basic level and try to make everything as practical as possible and as explain it for a non-med tech industry person. And that's worked very well. People have found that very beneficial. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, because sometimes if you're not from a science or an engineering background, people ask, well, will I be able for it? So it's great that you gave an example there of somebody from business. So Olivia, that's really helpful. I'll come back to you shortly again, but I might jump to you, Owen, and you're covering kind of 2 program areas in this, again, in the ICT area, both of them at postgraduate diploma level, cloud computing and software development, cybersecurity and software development. Can you turn on a radio any day that you don't hear something about cyber or something about software? Tell us about the 2 courses. They're kind of sisters and brothers of each other.
Yeah, so Mamuna, who can't be with us today, is the director of the cyber one, and I'm the cloud computing one. Primarily, there are 2 courses that, as you say, they're side by side. They cover from kind of the basics of software development operations, to get people from zero to competent graduate programmer level competency so that they can apply for graduate level jobs. But the additional piece, I suppose, on the cloud side is that the focus is on developing applications and deploying them to the cloud, which basically means not running them on a single computer in an office that is in the company site, but deploying them on the likes of Amazon and Google Cloud and these places where they're actually, where they live on the cloud, and they've got all the advantages of that in terms of security, availability, kind of scale and speed and so on. And there's a whole process around developing applications for that environment, which makes that particular course attractive to people who want to get into the industry for the first time, and also people who are in the industry and have maybe been working in some capacity in software, maybe even as a developer, but aren't kind of up to date on the skill set that you need for developing for that particular environment. Because there's a lot to it. So it covers the processes, the tools, the technologies, and so on. On the cyber side, the focus is on, again, the first piece, which is getting people to be competent developers. But the focus in the cyber PDIP is on security. How to develop applications to make them secure, how to test applications for vulnerability, how to deploy things like cryptography and all of the standard kind of tools that people use that are embedded in software applications nowadays to make them resilient and secure and kind of not vulnerable to attacks. And that's important because I suppose every application now has to be developed and tested and maintained with the view to security and you know, making our lives, our entire lives safe from hackers and so on. So that's a huge growth area in the software development industry as well. It's kind of retooling what's there, and actually whatever you're developing from scratch, we really have to build that sort of stuff in as well.
No, absolutely critical skill. Now, a question, and it's kind of linked to one I asked earlier to Olivia, because I know we've had students on these courses in the past who have, you know, it's called ICT skills conversion. So we are kind of thinking people will come in without an IT background. How challenging will it be for them? Because I know you are getting into technical, the technical side of things. You're talking about hardcore coding and programming. So
I think it is challenging. I think it is challenging. I think you need to commit to a fairly high workload for the 3 semesters of academic kind of content that the course is on. Because we are aiming to get people from a low or no level in IT skills, software development skills, up to a competent level where they understand the tools, the processes, and can use them and can actually deliver. That's a big ask. So ideally, you know, it would suit somebody who has a numerate background. But that said, like, I mean, I've been, you know, talking to people who are on placement over the last few weeks, and, you know, everything from teacher to a doctor to engineers to people with arts degrees, you know, art history backgrounds. It's not necessarily the fact that you come in with a degree in computing or a degree in maths and physics or whatever. It's your analytical ability, your ability to understand complexity, and also, from what I can see, what the companies really need is people who are interested in continuous learning. The learning doesn't just stop with the course, unfortunately. It continues on and on and on, because no matter where you work, there are new tools and processes to learn, and that they get revamped continuously. So it's people who are quick learners, good learners, and have a good analytical ability, I think, is important.
Okay, no, that's great. And you mentioned work placement. So I'm going to come back to you on that, Owen, because that's also a question that has arisen for students. But let me move to Patrick. And Patrick, you're in another space, much maybe a bit more fun, maybe not, depending on who you are, the creative industries. And you PG certificate in creative arts management. Tell us a little bit about what's entailed in that course and who has come to it from the last couple of runs of it.
Sure. Well, it's very similar to what the others were saying, which is that we've identified that there's a gap, there's a skills gap, not just in the west of Ireland and not just in Ireland, but actually internationally. And it's in this area of creative arts producing and creative arts management. So in Ireland, we know we have these great novelists and musicians and theatre makers, but we also need the people in the background who can make the whole thing work, who can make the budgets balance and deal with compliance and deal with contracts and solve the problems that creative artists face. So that's what this course is about giving people the chance to develop some of those skills. So when you arrive, the first module you do, it's called Ideas Lab. And what we do is we work with our creative arts partners. So companies like Druid Theatre or the Galway International Arts Festival. And they tell us the problems that they face, you know, things like how do you make art in a way that is sustainable with the climate crisis? How do we increase the diversity of our audiences? And so on, lots of different things. And our students are going to work together in coming up with innovative new solutions to those problems. So it's a great example of how the learning works. It's real world learning. It's based on real problems that real companies have, and your solutions will be implemented in a real way. That's the first module. Second one is about creative arts management and producing. So, you know, how do you get funding? How do you do fundraising? How do you manage a social media campaign? Really practical skills. And then the last bit is to do with work experience, work placement. And we can maybe say a bit more about that later. I think at the end of it, the students who've done it in the past, when they've come through, they've come from a wide variety of backgrounds. So it's opened up doors for them. Some of them have gone and got employment in places like the Abbey Theatre, for example. Others are already working in the industry and it gives them something just a little bit extra. And then for other people, it's kind of a taster. We've seen people in other industries, like the public sector, for example, or education, who've always thought this might be something that they'd like to do. And just the opportunity to dig into it in this part-time course for a year has been beneficial to them from that point of view as well.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, Patrick, is something that's really practical and applied, and you know that the creative arts industries have to have that theoretical but practical piece as well. And then just from your experience of those who've taken it on and really thrived on it, again, coming from, are they variety of backgrounds? Any kind of steer? Yeah.
Yeah, so any kind of background. So, what's really striking is the very wide diversity of people who have done the course. One of the good things about it is you can do it in person on campus in Galway, or you can do it online. Okay, so what that means is that people from all across the island have been doing it. And again, a great opportunity to meet new people, make new contacts, and bring new skills together as well. Some people have really strong professional experience. You know, they've been working for years in dance or in theatre or whatever. Other people will just say, I like to read books and listen to Lyric FM or whatever, you know, that it's so it's the full range of things. And I think what really matters is just that willingness to go in there and learn and work with other people and experiment and learn through doing. So yeah, I would say to anyone who thinks they might be interested in this, we can find a way to make it work for you.
Fantastic. Absolutely great. We'll come back again with other questions, Patrick, but I'll move to Edel. And Edel, from creativity to innovation, you're going to talk to us a little bit about two courses with, you know, the idea of innovation. Of course, in today's world, innovation has never been as important with whatever it can, the challenges, climate change, demographic changes, international competition. So you have two kind of separate but linked courses in their theme, and the MSc in Ag Innovation and the PG Diploma in Construction Innovation. So tell us a little bit about both. I know they're diverse, but yes, there's common themes among them.
Yes, there are common themes. And this is kind of almost reflective of what Patrick was saying about the creative arts approach as well, that it's very much a kind of a hands-on, learn by doing approach. So in Ag Innovate, we focus on kind of innovation in the agricultural food sector. It could be maybe about climate change and sustainability. And then on the Construct Innovate side, we focus more on kind of construction technologies and ways to be more sustainable in construction and innovative. But in general, both courses teach this kind of innovation mindset, which a lot of people really love when they get to do it. And that's kind of how to ask the right questions. What is the problems that a sector is facing, or a company, or a particular group of people? And then how might we actually try and solve that problem? And there's a lot of steps in between asking that first question and coming to some solutions. And a lot of it is about reaching out to your, what we would call customers. So that's maybe talking to people in the construction sector. It might be talking to farmers, depending on which course you're in and what you're doing. But it's about really learning on how to listen to other people and what their problems are, and to really kind of take what they say, synthesize it all together, and be able to say, okay, now that I've spoken to 100 people with this problem, I can see that this is actually what the root cause is, and this is maybe what the potential solutions are. So it's actually very creative in itself. Our students really love it. It's a really nice experience to get to spend a lot of time, as we say, thinking back when they're sitting with their coffee, maybe they're driving to work, and they kind of think back and say, oh, actually, there's another good idea for that problem. Or, you know, I never thought about it this way. And it's a really nice way to learn. And it also provides a lot of skill sets for students that they wouldn't possibly have had before. There's that kind of critical thinking, how to talk to people, how to kind of see the wood from the trees in the sense of problem solving. And it's just really, really something that our students enjoy. And a lot of them come from a wide variety of backgrounds. I've never seen a more diverse student group, particularly in Ag Innovate. Yeah. But they all come out with the same amazing set of skills that really help them in their personal life, in their career, starting their own business, you know, moving forward in the ladder in their own company or the company they work for, whatever the case might be. So it's a super course, both of them.
Well, I mean, only yesterday and the day before on the news, we were hearing about the challenges to meet the housing demand, and how innovation and new ideas are needed. So that course is really kind of really digging into that concept of construction, sustainability, digital technologies.
Exactly, yeah. So on the Construct Innovate course, and again, this is kind of what the other panelists have said about a needs gap. We do some modules in the early stages about modern methods of construction, digital construction technologies, sustainability, all of these kind of areas that are maybe lacking a little bit among civil engineers. No matter their level of experience, we found out they are generally missing some of these skills. So we teach all of those first, and then we get into the innovation and entrepreneurship side, where they can take that knowledge and apply it to their existing job, or maybe a problem they've seen from places they worked before, or just problems in the sector in general. And they kind of apply the innovation tools and approaches that we teach to come up with solutions. So it's a really nice way of kind of learning and expanding, particularly for people in the Construct Innovate course, for expanding their own knowledge, for maybe, you know, getting that promotion in work, but also being able to learn the innovation side in case they want to start their own business, or maybe spin out within the company they work for. So it's a nice way of kind of getting both sides.
Yes. So I think sort of a message to our attendees today is that the design of the courses are meeting industry needs. We've thought a lot about how we are making them real, applied and practical, and that they can transfer pretty immediately to the workplace, and that they're also suitable not only for those who have an immediate background in that area, but those who convert into it. So we're really catching a wide group. I come to assessment, and I know I mentioned about practical application, and Olivia, I'll come back to you in relation to the regulatory affairs and operations. How are you assessing the course, and you know, what should students expect in terms of that accrediting and what's required?
Yeah, well, Nuala, the course is 100% online, and we have live lectures, and we also record the live lecture in case students cannot attend. And in a lot of the cases, we pre-record the lecture as well. So if people don't want to listen to students asking questions, they can just listen to the lecture going through the material. So we kind of offer as much a mix of delivery as possible. But to answer your question, the assignments are very practically based. They're related to maybe a problem or a specific application or tool that somebody might have to use in industry. And where possible, we make the assignments as practical as possible. Now, if somebody isn't working in the industry and has no knowledge of the medtech industry, we kind of assign something a little bit more theoretical. But all the assignments are as aligned as possible with making sure they can apply theory to practice, and see how the legislation applies in their own company and to maybe their own product that they make in their company. And it's designed to give people as much exposure to different functions as possible, because I may get somebody from the customer complaints department, and that's an expert in that area, and they may be the senior manager in that function, but they may not be as au fait with other areas of the medical device manufacturing process and regulatory compliance. So we try to make sure that there's a good mix of practical understanding across, as I said before, the entire product life cycle.
Okay, that sounds great. And again, immediate applicability to the workplace. We mentioned the word earlier about work placements, and I know Patrick and Owen, in both your program areas, there is a work placement. So I'm wondering, could you each speak a little bit about it? I'll start with you yourself, Patrick. One of your modules is actually called the work placement, so it's very built in.
Yeah, so professionalization runs all through the course. So there's the work placement element. We also have a day, though, where we get everyone together and they hear from professional arts speakers about how they got started or what their tips are. So it really does run the whole way through. Students have different needs in terms of work placement. So some of our students are working full time. So the idea for them of, taking time off work to do a placement doesn't arise. And in cases like that, we adopt a flexible approach. So it could be that they do smaller amounts of work experience over a longer period of time, or they might do project work or whatever. But for the majority of students, what they're doing is they're doing a placement of at least 40 hours, sometimes more than that, with a professional arts organization somewhere in Ireland. So that might be working in a theatre company or in a gallery or in a variety of other spaces as well. Festivals are a big part of the work we do, for example. It's usually very targeted. So what kind of skills can you develop through doing that work? What can you bring to that organization? Those are the things we'd look at. So again, very flexible, but intended to be really practically useful for the students.
Sounds great. And Owen, there is an option for a work placement or a project on the two programs. Talk to us a bit about maybe the work placement and where people might get end up, as they say, and how long is it for?
Well, okay, the work placement starts at the start of in January of the second semester of the second year. And in theory, that could run as long as 9 months, up until the end of August. In practice, it'll depend on what the company's placement duration tends to be, but it will be up to 9 months, minimum of 6, typically 9 months. And that would be organized through the Career Development Center here. They organize the jobs that come up. They work with the companies to find the jobs, recruit students, train students in CV preparation, interview skills, things like that, because some of the people in the course may not have done an interview for a very long time. So we make them as prepared as they can be to then apply for internships or placements with companies, and they're typically pure software development companies, although we have some people working with, say, county councils or the HSE financial companies, things like that. It's not necessarily, sometimes it's a lot of companies do their own in-house development. They're not pure software sellers as such. So
and the roles that they end up in, any kind of typical area that you see them?
Yeah, so I would describe the roles as graduate developer roles.
Okay.
They would be the same type of internship roles that somebody who had done a computer science, 4-year computer science degree, the same type of internship that they would go on. So the people on placement will be typically working as part of an agile team. So these are teams that work very closely together on projects which kind of have an iterative approach and a very collaborative team-based approach to developing applications and so on.
Okay.
So they get embedded into software development teams very quickly, which is good because there's a lot to learn, and it's usually very hands-on, and they get a lot of help and assistance from other people in the teams as well. They're encouraged to ask questions and become productive and stay curious, you know, and stay and be engaged in the process.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, if somebody's already working in a company, that doesn't mean that can't necessarily do a placement. They could be seconded to another area within the company if their company is encouraging them in their attempts to kind of transition from one type of career to another one. So we support that obviously as well.
Yeah.
And if the person is not really able to do an internship or one and already is working, you know, there's always the project option as well,
which is a great option and
Yeah,
apply
of course.
to the company. Great. So thanks for that. So great opportunity to get experience, particularly if you're converting into that area for the first
Absolutely.
time. Fantastic. And Edel, in terms of the diploma with construction innovation and the MSc in ag innovation, I know there's a project in both of them, and in the MSc there's a thesis option. What's the project involving, and you know, how do students select out their topics?
The projects are a really nice way to round off the learning that they've done in the course. So generally, I'll talk about the Ag Innovate approach first. So in that course, every student takes an individual project over the summer. So it's generally based on what they've learned, because in the earlier modules, they also kind of have their own area of focus. So every student might be doing something different. One might be on something about beef, something about honey. It can just vary between everything. And they apply the same tools and approaches, but when it comes to the summer project, that's when they go out and do a little bit more in-depth analysis of a problem. So that involves, you know, talking to a lot more people that face this problem, scoping out potential solutions, trying to synthesize all that and write it up together. So in both courses, both in Ag Innovate and Construct Innovate, we kind of split the project into two parts almost. One part is where they produce really relevant documents for getting funding. So that's things like a business plan. They might do a business model canvas, which kind of lays out how their business might operate. And then on the other half, we'll also do some kind of research parts with them, almost like a dissertation, or we do call it a dissertation, for kind of the learning outcomes of the course. And that's another kind of way that they can show the type of learning they've done on the course. And then over in Construct Innovate, it's a similar type approach, but we go in teams of 3 instead in that case. So within that team of 3, they can all kind of pair up themselves. They can pick something that maybe they've already worked on during the year. They can pick a brand new topic that maybe they've thought of since. They can maybe go back to something they've learned in an earlier module and do some research on that. And again, it's very much focused on that idea of using these innovative tools and approaches of actually getting out and talking to people, being creative, trying to come up with solutions. So they're very nice projects. Our students generally love them. When they come back at the end, they say, wow, it was a lot of work, but I can't believe I did it. And, you know, I feel empowered to do this again, whether it's in their job or somewhere else. So it's a very nice process.
Great. Well, and again, supervised and very much so supported by academic staff at the university.
Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think that kind of brings us, we promised a short session to our attendees, and that kind of brings us to the end of our session today. But we have lots of information on our website, and also springboardcourses.ie is the place to apply. So I might just pop up actually the contact details again, and I'll just pull back, go on to my next and final slide, which is our contact list. And just to say thanks to everybody who attended today. We've had a lot of questions in the chat, which have been answered by my colleague, Tricia Sweeney. So thanks, Tricia, for supporting that. We encourage you to give us a call if you'd like to find out any particular course information, and we'll direct you to the relevant academic director. Our email address is adultlearning@universityofgalway.ie. And the portal for applying is springboardcourses.ie. So I really would encourage you to kind of consider what we have on offer and to apply as soon as you can. I'm going to thank my panel members today, to Edel, to Patrick, to Owen, and to Olivia. Thanks very much for your time and support today. And as I say, we're always available for questions. And this session will be recorded. It'll be available to you afterwards. And we will also have further details shared with you on our email, keeping you up to date with other events that we're running. If you're interested in the Lunchtime webinar series, we're running another one this time next week. That's July 17th at the same time at 1:15, and it'll be on our science and technology courses. So thanks very much for joining us today, and best of luck with your applications. Thank you.